Today, we become legends.
Alright boys, Season of Hope time. 10.3 has been revealed, we've got the patch notes right here. In this video, I'm going to be covering all the changes to items, the new items, some reworked ones and stuff like that. I'm probably not going to cover the god changes, I don't think, unless you guys really want to see that. Let me know in the comments down below, because there's so many. There's like actually so many, and a lot of them are pretty ancillary and won't majorly change the performance of the god, but if you guys do want to see me covering all the god changes and my thoughts on it, it might be a long video, but if you want to see that, then do let me know if you'd watch that down below. But definitely worth considering the item changes, because there are new items and some major reworks for items as well. Some items got a lot better, some items got worse. And I might also make a video on the conquest changes as well. It'll probably be relatively short, there's not too many conquest changes, but there is a new camp and some other new stuff going on, changes to respawn timers, probably changes to the way we're going to start the game as well. So let me know if you want to see that too down in the comments. But without further ado, let's jump in with the items. So first up, they've got some kind of like goals and action plans and system changes and all that kind of stuff. We know a decent bit about this already if you watched my previous video where we're covering like the closer look post that they made about it, but I'll just go over it quickly. So healing is a powerful effect in Smite. We want to do a more in-depth and detailed driven approach where they're going to be like majorly overhauling healing basically. With all the changes combined, we expect to see lower healing numbers overall, definitely going to be true, but more control over player healing. It will be less likely to be healed in huge amounts, but also more rares have healing reduced to 0%. So yeah, they're going to be reducing a lot of the heals overall, but they're going to be also reducing some of the anti-heal in the game on abilities and items, so it's less likely that you're just going to get straight up your healing deleted, which does feel pretty bad. And they're going to try and add more utility and additional effects to heals. A lot of them are getting like protections or power increases or mitigations or whatever. New effects, cooldown reduction is also seeming to be a big thing that they're going to be adding to a lot of heals in the game as well. So yeah, healing abilities will no longer have power scaling on any gods, so basically they're just going to scale with ability rank, other than these two specific ones here. Aphrodite and Hell will receive level-based scaling on their healing. No other healers are going to get this. It's just going to be these two, which is kind of weird. I guess maybe they either saw these underperforming or kind of preemptively were like they're probably going to underperform because they're very reliant on their healing to be relevant. Major changes coming to these gods in general as well, not just this level-based scaling, there's other big changes coming to them. And every other god will have no scaling, only ranking up from ability or buying healing increase items, which they are going to be buffing a lot of the healing increase items and adding new ones as well. So they're going to be reducing basically all the healing, lifesteal, all that kind of stuff in the game by 30%. But they're included in the calculation. So basically they're removing the brawling. I think it says somewhere down here. Yeah, the brawling system has been removed from the game entirely. So that 40% decrease that you were getting when healing out of combat basically is going to be offset by this. So out of combat, your heals and lifesteal are going to be very slightly stronger, but in combat they're going to be quite a bit weaker, because in combat the brawling effect that was reducing by 40% wasn't active. So, but of course this does depend on the god and stuff. Some gods are getting more than a 30% decrease, some gods are getting less than a 30% decrease. That's just like an average basically. Also, they're introducing a cap on healing reduction. It's going to be capped at 80% reduction, so there's actually no chance unless a complete anti-heal, that's a different thing in the games, or Circuit Odin and Osiris, where they can completely reduce healing. That will be still kept at 100% obviously, but standard anti-heal through items and stuff is going to be now only 80% reduction that you can stack it up to. Physical lifesteal cap decreased from 100% to 50%, almost never really going to be relevant, to be honest. Most people were not building over 50% lifesteal, but I guess if you had, you know, Assy plus another lifesteal item in your build, maybe. Magical lifesteal cap decreased from 65 to 40. Again, probably not going to be relevant. I mean, Bancroft's Typhons is 35 from Bancroft's plus like, is it 15 from Typhons? So maybe if you're going Bancroft's Typhons, you might hit the cap now, so I guess that could be slightly relevant for gods like Anubis and maybe Hades, but you weren't really building Typhons on Hades anyway, you just wanted Bancroft's Claw for the glyph pretty much. And, you know, Anubis not going to be affected. Anubis doesn't gain increased lifesteal, he gains increased healing from lifesteal, so that's not going to impact Anubis. These caps are almost never going to come into play, but I suppose they just want to implement it regardless. They're also going to be introducing a bunch of shield reduction items, which we'll get to in a second, and shield reduction also has a cap of 80%. But yeah, let's just jump into the actual item changes here. So, two new trees are going to be coming to the game. They're healing-based trees. One is for physicals, one is for magicals. So one tree has physical power, one tree has magical power. And they basically have a bunch of different items that apply like different effects to your heals and stuff like that to make them more relevant while not necessarily healing as much as they were before. So first up is the Restoring 1 tree. Tier 2 is Rod of Healing, as we always knew it from Rod of Asclepius. And first up is a slight rework to Rod of Asclepius. So the healing dealt is increased by 30%. I think this is more than it was before. So that's pretty relevant. And then also an aura where allies have increased CDR, which is pretty cool. Base stats are slightly changed as well, I think, but still base stats not really that great. You're building this for the effect, if anything. New item, Rejuvenating Heart on this tree, 70 power, 300 health, 300 mana, 2450 gold. The passive, successfully hitting enemy gods with basic attacks and abilities, provides a stack of 6% increased healing dealt that is consumed by the next ability heal used, and that's a max of 8 stacks, and you can only gain 1 stack per god per ability, like with all of these effects. So this one is pretty interesting. It doesn't seem that good. I feel like you're never going to get to max 8 stacks, because on gods that want this item, you're never just going to be boxing with basic attacks. Maybe on some guardians, I guess, but it feels like on a mage especially, you're never just going to be sat there basic attacking for 8 stacks, and if it's for abilities, you're going to be casting your heal ability way before you get to the maximum of 8 stacks, so you're probably just going to have a couple of stacks, increasing your healing slightly. This doesn't seem that great. I feel like you would just get Rod of Asclepius if you wanted this kind of effect. You get the CDR aura, you get probably... I mean, this is 30% always. This, I guess, can go to 48%, but it's never going to get there realistically, so probably Rod of Asclepius is just a better version of this. They both kind of perform a similar purpose. Like, maybe on some tanky guardians or mages where you're brawling a bit more, maybe this could be better, but honestly, I don't think so. Base stats are basically very similar as well. Another new one, though, Last Gasp. This one does seem pretty interesting. So, 100 power, 200 health, 200 mana, 15 pen, 2400 gold. That is insane base stats. That is absolutely crazy base stats. That is cheaper than Divine. I believe cheaper than Deso, but it might be pretty close. 100 power, 200 health, 200 mana, 15 pen. That is just really good base stats, dude. The effect doesn't seem that good. After healing an ally with an ability, you gain 10 magical power per 10% of their missing health for 6 seconds, so it's pretty decent, you know. I mean, this effect can only occur once every 10 seconds, but can it occur multiple times? It doesn't mention that you can only gain 1 stack per god per ability like this one does, so actually, maybe this is better than I initially thought when I gave it a skim read, because if you're hitting like 4 allies with your AoE heal, like if you're health reing 4 allies, you know, even if they're only down like maybe 30% of their health on average, that's going to give you a lot of power. So maybe this is actually better than I thought on this passive effect. You know, obviously for mage mids, this item for the most part, maybe I guess on healers this could replace your standard flat pen option where you would be going like either Divine or Spear of Desolation. Because the base stats are really good, to be honest. Base stats are really good. And the effect, if it can proc on every single ally that you hit with the heals, could be really good as well. So yeah, this item seems good for sure. But moving on to the physical healing tree, which is going to be Blessed Scepter into Splendid Scepter, and then Rework, Caduceus Club. The healing dealt has been increased by 30%, or not increased by 30%, sorry, increased to 30%, which I believe is more than it had before, the same thing with Rod of Asclepius. And instead of CDR, you get CCR and movement speed as the aura to ally god, so they're basically mirrors of each other. But it has CDR on the base item now, which is pretty nice. These base stats are still a bit underwhelming for the cost, I feel like, but they're definitely better than they were before. Having some CDR on it is going to be really nice. I guess the issue is you're building this on warriors, which you can only have 30% CDR in your build. You know, that's not even including silver buff or power potions or anything like that, so you're probably going to run into CDR problems if you're building this on, like, your Guans or whatever. But yeah, the aura applies to yourself, so this does have 10% CCR and 4% movement speed on the base item as well as all these. The stats are definitely a lot better on this now. I could probably see this being picked up by certain solo laners. New item, Vital Amplifier, 2450 gold, 40 power, 200 health, 15 MP5, and 20% attack speed. After healing yourself or an allied god with an ability, you gain 10% attack speed and 5% basic attack damage for 6 seconds, stacking 3 times. So, ADC Hercules, anyone? Is 3 now provides a bunch of attack speed, plus you'd have 20% from this and like 10% every time you heal and 5% basic attack damage. This is a really interesting item. I don't think it's going to be built on your typical like physical team healers. There ain't many of them, to be honest, but like Guan Yu, for example, not a great user of this item, but basic attacking warriors, you know, I mean, I assume this procs on Bellona's 3, so you basically, this is probably an auto build on Bellona, right? Like, you basically will permanently have 3 stacks of this for 30% attack speed and 15% basic attack damage plus 20% on the base item. The base stats aren't amazing, but when you consider in the fact that you're going to have 30% attack speed and 15% basic attack damage, that's kind of crazy. Super easy to stack up on Bellona as well. On Hercules, I guess it will stack twice because you get the initial heal, and then within 6 seconds that will happen with where you get the second tick. And I assume it refreshes in duration, so Hercules will get 10% attack speed and 5% basic attack damage, and then when he gets the second proc of the heal, it'll go up to 20% and 10%, and that'll last 6 seconds after that. Seems pretty good. Maybe even has potential on some ADCs that can reliably heal themselves. I assume Chiron passive will work with this. Not that he really loves attack speed, but it'd be nice for him. Does Cernunnos 1 in Spring Stance count as ability healing. I actually don't know about that, but if it does, then that's going to be pretty good for Cernanos as well. So potentially some applications for hunters that can self-heal, because if you can reliably keep this stacked up to 3 times, this is insane stats. 50% attack speed, 15% basic attack damage on its own is really, really good. So yeah, I think this item has a ton of potential. Definitely going to be some theory crafting we can do around that with like basic attacking warriors and some hunters as well. Set also, yes, Set going to be crazy with this item. That just popped into my head. You know, his ult heals you every 3 basic attacks. So you'll easily get this stacked up within your ult relatively quickly, and then you're going to have a ton of extra basic attack damage and attack speed, so yeah, super good on Set as well. Set likes the bruiser stats as well, more than like a hunter would. But moving on, we have Sekhmet's Scepter, 2500 gold, 45 power, 200 health, 15 MP5, 10% CDR. After healing yourself or an ally god with an ability, for the next 6 seconds, each time you damage an enemy god with your non-ultimate ability cooldowns are reduced by 0.5 seconds. This reduction can only occur once per second, and the effect can only occur every 12 seconds, so I don't know if that will happen after the 6 seconds, or if realistically it can occur every 6 seconds, because, you know, by the time it wears off, it's only 6 seconds until you can activate it again. Not sure about that. But this item seems kind of insane, dude. This is broken on Guan Yu, surely. You'll get 3 procs of it guaranteed from Talu Assault, because that lasts 3 seconds, I think. Maybe it's even 4 seconds, but I think it's 3. So you're going to get 3 guaranteed procs when you use Talu Assault. He already has cooldown reduction built in on his 1 and his 2, where it reduces your ability cooldowns as well. You're going to be spamming heals reliably to get this off every 12/6 seconds, depending on how the effect works. Of course, absolute maximum value is 3 seconds off of all of your basic abilities, which is decent, but to get the max value is going to be quite hard, I feel like. But, you know, for solo lane brawlers that are in the fight reliably, getting their abilities off and stuff, you know, even for trading in the laning phase, you can probably get that done. Base stats, like most of these hammers, aren't really that great, though. I mean, it's not too bad, I suppose, but yeah, the hammer tree in general seems to not have that great base stats. But moving on, we have some new anti-shield oriented items. So with the nerf of healing, we've run the risk of seeing an increased priority in HP shields. So we are introducing a new set of items that can counter those shields by decreasing the size as they are applied. So when I initially saw these changes, I was like, they're probably going to make a lot of the heals into shields. They didn't actually go that route, but they are introducing anti-shielding just in case that becomes more prevalent as a form of sustain as opposed to like general healing. So first up we have Erosion, 30 of each procs, 350 health, 2350 gold. Every time an enemy within 30 units gains a shield, you gain movement speed for 4 seconds, and the effect can only occur every 10, and also an aura shields are reduced by 30%. So yeah, probably not going to be super useful. Shields in Smite aren't really that prevalent. There are definitely a decent amount of shields in the game, but I thought they were going to be adding a lot more with this update, but they don't really seem to have done that. You know, maybe good against your Moja, good against multiple shells, I suppose. I mean, the base stats are really competitive. 350 and 30 of each for this price point is pretty good for tankiness in general. I assume this is going to be on the Stone of Binding tree, that's what it looks like. Stone of Binding in general, like all the items on that tree have like super competitive base stats. Yeah, it'll be fine, I suppose. Probably going to see this rarely picked up unless shields become super prevalent. It seems like they've mainly added this, like they say, to not run the risk of shields becoming like super broken or anything. Gem of Isolation, enemies hit by your damaging abilities will move 30% slower, as always, and then also their shields will be reduced by 50% for those 2.5 seconds, so basically they've just added the anti-shielding effect to Gem of Isolation as well. Will it make this trash item usable? I highly doubt it, but yeah, I suppose that's a nice little thing for it. And then Venom Deathbringer glyph also gets shield reduction. They removed the damage reduction buff, but also added healing and shielding reduction, so it's going to be reducing shields by 50% and their healing by 35%. The slow still applies, and so, you know, anyone that was missing Shadow Zeal Shuriken being gone, crit build anti-heal is back. You can just go this Deathbringer, which basically all the crit builds were going this Deathbringer anyway, so basically you're not going to have the damage reduction anymore, but you are going to have healing and shielding reduction, if that's relevant. And so down here we just have a bunch of changes to the healing of certain items and also the anti-heal of certain items. I'll just go over these really quickly because a lot of them are relatively ancillary and they're basically encapsulated by that 30% like healing reduced on basically everything in the game. So Lifesteal decreased on Claw Shard, Meditation in all forms has its healing reduction decreased, but the mana gain is unaffected. Sundering Cypher and healing decreased. Death's Toll increased physical power, but they've decreased the heal. The base amount is the same, but based on your max health is less. Death's Embrace is actually a more interesting case here, so the hitting an enemy with a basic attack restores 1.4% instead of 2% of your health, mana is unaffected, but also reduces your non-active ultimate cooldowns by, non-ultimate cooldowns, not non-active, by 0.33 seconds, so that's pretty interesting. Probably not too relevant for most hunters, I wouldn't think, but you know, maybe Erlang Shen probably likes this item a lot more now. He kind of already did like the item, but yeah, being able to reduce your 1 by even more, and also just generally have like more of your abilities up as Erlang Shen, probably going to be pretty good for him. Death's Temper, you now fully stack it basically on a God Kill or Assist, so that's going to be a little bit better. This was already kind of the upgrade of Death's Toll that a lot of people were going if you weren't selling it anyway. Leather Cowl, just basically a shift. Hunter's Cowl, basically a shift as well, just decreased the lifesteal but gave it more attack speed and power. Again, he had basically the same change. Increased bonus gold gain on Gilded Arrow, Diamond Arrow increased health and added 10% pen, which is pretty interesting. You know, this has a lot of potential. You know, maybe instead of going for a Death Toll in your build now, maybe you're going this and you have a little bit more of access to percent pen in the late game for all these crazy crit builds that people are running. You know, not so much percent pen available in the crit builds other than on Demon Blade. So you have 10% from Demon Blade, 10% from this, and then 20% from either Dominance or Executioner or something like that. Executioner a little bit more than 20%, but stacks up, so probably averages about 20%. And you can basically be at like 40% from that. So yeah, a bit more percent pen available to Hunters there. And Ornate Arrow gets a pretty solid buff. Increased basic attack, the base basic attack damage from 60 to 70, and also increased the physical crit strike chance from 5% to 15%. And yeah, when fully stacked up, I believe this thing provided 25% crit, I think, when you had the full gold amount. So it's now going to be providing 35% crit, which is interesting. 35% is a lot. It's not quite as much as Rage and fully stacked, whatever that new item's called, Bladed Boomerang. It's not quite as much as those, but 35% crit is still a lot. And if you can have some crit in your starter, it frees up, you know, maybe you don't have to go Rage or, I've forgotten its name again, dude. Such a forgettable item, Bladed Boomerang. Maybe you don't have to go Rage or Bladed Boomerang in your build anymore if you maybe tempted more towards Ornate Arrow with the buff to the base item and also the Ornate Arrow buff. You know, you can get still pretty high crit chance, although not as high as like 95% that you would get with Rage. But it frees up an item slot in your build for potentially some more utility, like some extra percent pen or something like that. Bluestone, decreased base damage, and also on Bluestone Brooch as well. Bluestone, still a really strong starter. Not really super surprised to see it take another nerf, to be honest. I think the base form was probably kind of fine, but Bluestone Brooch, yeah, it still does a lot, to be honest, so understandable to nerf that. Warrior's Axe base form nerfed, makes sense, was one of the stronger base forms, to be honest, for the laning phase. Sundering Axe, they've actually partially reverted the nerf that they made to this. It used to be 2% protection scaling, nerfed it to 1%, kind of destroyed the item a little bit, and then it's been buffed back up to 1.5% now, so going to be a little bit stronger, and also it no longer procs off of other item damage and only triggers on ability damage, which was basically just like, not really, I don't know if it was a bug or not, but basically a bug fix. That probably shouldn't have been happening. All the Bumbers basically just get a slight change where they restore less health but have a little bit more power or whatever on them. No big change there. Just some base stat buffs to Eye of the Jungle and Seer of the Jungle. I mean, it's welcome. Obviously, Protector of the Jungle definitely doesn't need buffs. That thing's already really strong. Sentinels gets decreased health restore on both forms. Benevolence also decreased health. Protector's Mask. Basically, all these support items are getting decreased health restore on like minion assists and stuff like that. Vampiric Shroud shifted around, a little bit more magical power in MP5, but decreased health restore and decreased lifesteal. Basically the same deal for the upgrades on it as well. Physical items, decreasing the lifesteal on all of the tiers of Devourers, basically. They're also changing the pen on Devos, so they're decreasing the lifesteal, as always. But they're going to be adding 0.2 physical penetration per stack, but reducing the pen on Evolve from 10 to 5, so it's going to be going from 15 instead of 10. So 15 flat pen, definitely really good. Maybe Devos starts creeping back into the meta a little bit more, instead of Asi. So it's going to have 70 power. It used to have 70 for the longest time. I think it got nerfed. 15 pen. And then lifesteal decreased from 25% to 15%. You know, that's slightly more than the 30% like average decrease, but still probably going to be pretty good. Added 10% attack speed to Bloodforge, but took some of the lifesteal off of it. Probably a worth trade, to be honest, especially for the ability assassins that were using this. You probably prefer 10% attack speed to 5% lifesteal, to be honest. Bound Gauntlet, slightly decreased lifesteal and increased power. Soul Eater has been kind of destroyed, dude. This one was a pretty interesting one. So on the base form, they've decreased the lifesteal and the ability lifesteal by 50% for the ability lifesteal, which is way more than the average. But they've given it a little bit more power. But yeah, look at the evolved version. So it gets 10 more power, but it's got 5% less lifesteal and 10% less lifesteal from abilities. It goes from 20% to just 10. I feel like Soul Eater's kind of dead now, dude. There's almost no point in building this item now. 10% is so low. You know, a 50% reduction compared to the 30% average, as I mentioned. Asi sees a slight power increase. Lifesteal goes down from 20% to 12%, and also decreased lifesteal on the passive from 25 to 15. So it's going to be going from 45 to 27 when you have the passive active. So again, you know, maybe Devos comes back into the meta a little bit because the added 5 pen, and it's got a lot more power now. Magical Lifesteal, taking a little bit off of Telkine's Ring, a little bit off of Polynomicon. Increase the passive damage on Spear of the Magus, but Lifesteal gone again. Same thing with Tiny Trinket, Enchanted Trinket. Increase power and decrease Lifesteal on Pythagorean's Piece. Soul Gem, decrease the base Lifesteal, more power, increase cost. Decrease magical power scaling of the damage and decrease magical power scaling of the heal, where it's no longer scaling on power, it's just going to be 15 plus 5 per level, so a pretty major nerf for that. 15 plus 5 per level, that's going to definitely be less than 30% magical scaling, so a pretty big nerf to Soul Gem there. Bancroft's the premier mage lifesteal item, I suppose, with the most amount of lifesteal. Tier 2 shifted. Increased mana, increased passive health floor from 25 to 40. Interesting. So you're going to get the effect a little bit more, but they're decreasing the lifesteal from 15 plus 20 to 10 plus 10. That's pretty huge, dude. That's not quite a 50% decrease, but that's a lot. You know, this item used to be 20 and 20, so it used to give 40% lifesteal, it now gives 20%. That is a major, major nerf to Bancroft's Talon. Typhons gets a similar thing, more power, decreased cost. Oh, increased penetration from 10 to 20%. Jesus. Obviously, Typhons needed the buffs because as you're nerfing lifesteal, Typhons becomes weaker by like double because they're nerfing the lifesteal on Typhons as well, but they're also nerfing the other lifesteal items that Typhon kind of builds around. So yeah, I guess it's kind of justified that it would get an increase. But yeah, that's now on a level with Obsidian Shard and Charon's Coin base Magical Pen, so that's pretty interesting. And we have some more general item balance as well. These are all like basically healing and lifesteal item changes, so there's a little bit more general item balance. TP gets a 20 second cooldown increase on the first two forms, but the fully upgraded forms are unaffected. Frostbound gets a buff, yeah, totally makes sense. Frostbound was completely dead after that change they made to it, dude. Probably still dead. I don't think 5 power and 50 gold off of it's going to make a difference, really. Runeforged Hammer, basically the same thing. A little bit more substantial of a buff for this one, but probably still dead. Only Hunters, increased health, but decreased the damage mitigation. Yeah, they said they were probably going to be making a change to Only Hunters when they made all the mitigation changes. It makes sense, I guess, that they're reducing the mitigation on it. Fail Not added a 10% damage output reduction to the debuff from the mark of the item, so interesting. Fail Not, I feel like, was already being underrated. Having an extra 10% damage output reduction is going to be really strong for it. Transcendence, slightly decreased cost, that's whatever. Demon Blade gets buffs for some reason. I don't know why. This is already one of the better crit items available out there. Basically in every crit hunter build in existence. Increase the power by 5 and increase attack speed by 5 as well. Cost decrease to Bladed Boomerang, so it's now down at 2350. It's now quite cheap, I don't know if this is cheaper than Rage or not, but yeah. Bladed Boomerang going to be a little bit more attractive now. Griffin Wing Earrings, 10 more physical power, but the magical power is unaffected. Heroism and Spartan Flag get the GP 5s that they should have had for quite a while now. Divine Ruin, definitely justified to reduce the power scaling on the damage from this one. That was doing way too much damage, dude. Divine Ruin was already a really efficient item, and then having it just spam damage throughout the entire team like your Zeus, dude, that was already really good. Increased power on Road to Hootie, and also the passive floor from 50% to 60%, so you're going to get a little bit more use out of that passive. Same thing to both the upgrades as well. Doom Orb gets 10% magical pen and also more movement speed. Remove the mana, but probably not going to be that relevant, I guess. Definitely a buff to Doom Orb here. And finally, Spear of Desolation goes down from 2500 to 2350, so going to be a little bit more attractive now. They didn't change the price of Divine, did they? Nah, so Divine is still going to remain quite expensive in comparison to Spear of Desolation, so it's definitely going to be the cheaper option now. And yeah, that's all the item changes. Again, there's some god changes down here that if you guys want me to cover that, I could probably make a video on that. I'll put this one out and then judge from the comments of this video whether people want to see the god balance, because there's some interesting changes, but a lot of them are just really like kind of ancillary changes that won't impact the god's performance that much. It's just taking some healing away and reducing some cooldown elsewhere in the kit or giving them some more damage or whatever. The only really major changes are going to be to team healers, to be honest with that. But yeah, what do you guys think of the patch so far? Mainly of the item changes, the topic of this video. The new items look pretty cool. Let me know what you guys think of it and all that stuff, and I will catch you guys in another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.